The smoke is settled, the Springboks are defending rugby champions, and these are some of the thoughts that I've had the morning after. Now, coming off that massive win over Argentina, maybe the scoreline didn't represent actually how big it was, and I'm getting the feeling online that people maybe don't understand how big that was for South Africa to win back-to-back rugby championships for the first time ever. It feels like it was expected, and maybe it was, but this is absolutely massive for Springbok rugby as well as moving forward into that 2027 Rugby World Cup, because I think in the world at the moment, the Springboks are clear leaders building up to that 2027 Rugby World Cup and probably the favorites to win it. What's even more interesting to me is not that we won the Rugby Championship, but how Rassie Erasmus and the Springboks have done so. I'm going to be diving into all of that today. So if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Leave this video a like and drop your opinions down in the comments. Now let's get into it. Back-to-back rugby champions. The Springboks stay on top. Second straight rugby championship title in front of 70,000 people at Twickenham. I did speak a lot about the game yesterday in my post-match review. But to do that and to do it in the way that they have done it after losing to Australia in that first game after being so far up, to grinding out a win against Argentina at Twickenham, 29 points to 27. Rassie Erasmus has also done that by building a squad of 40 to 50 players. No other team in the world has this type of depth and can rotate that depth and still win silverware in a rugby championship against the best of the best, being New Zealand. What makes it even more impressive this year is that the Springboks went away to New Zealand, managed to pick up a win and defend the title. That's why the Springboks have never defended it, because we win the one where we play New Zealand twice at home and then we end up losing both games when we travel to New Zealand. So this is a massive, massive achievement for the Springboks, and maybe a glimpse into the future of what Rassie Erasmus and the coaching staff are trying to do and where the Springboks are going to be in that 2027 Rugby World Cup. What's even more vital is that we finished at the top of the Rugby World Rankings. Yes, we just 0.82 points ahead of New Zealand, but those 0.82 points could be the difference between getting a favorable round of 16 draw at the Rugby World Cup in 2027, because the Rugby World Cup group stage draw happens on the 3rd of December, and you want to be as high as you can in those rankings to give you the easiest route to the knockout stages and through the knockout stages in that World Cup. Now, Argentina definitely didn't make it easy for the Springboks, dominating territory as well as possession. In the first half, they had 61% possession and 58% possession. And that may be reflected in the scoreline of 13 points to 3. I think the Springboks made it look a little bit better with that late try in that first half that Kobus Reinach ended up scoring, making it 13 points to 10. But Argentina were bounds better than the Springboks in that first half. And I think they'll feel a little bit not unlucky, but maybe they left a couple of points out there. And I think you do have to give credit to the Springboks for scrambling and keeping it as tight as they did in that first half, where they kind of set the foundation and then corrected their mistakes in that second half, where they came out looking like a completely different team, where they were a lot more direct, which opened up gaps that they then capitalized on. Now, I do think there were a couple of major turning points in yesterday's game, and that's revolving around Canan Moodie. Canan Moodie picked up a yellow card in the first minute or the second minute of the game. He then had that deliberate knockdown, which, to be honest, when I saw it, I thought he was in trouble. I thought that was definitely grounds for another yellow card, and therefore he would have got a red card because he would have picked up 2 yellows. The ref decided that it was just a knock-on. Looking back at it, probably don't think that was the correct call. I think at least a penalty, and he was in the range of a yellow card there. That could have definitely changed the trajectory of the game. Argentina picking up a yellow card at a crucial time also definitely didn't help them. And then I don't think enough people are speaking about that penalty that Argentina missed in the 77th or 76th minute. That definitely could have swung the game in their favor. It hit the post. If he had got that, then they just needed one converted try to win the game, and they actually ended up scoring that converted try right at the end of the game. So Argentina were literally this close from winning the game, and I'm saying this close because if that ball misses that post and goes in, then I think we're looking at a different result and maybe having a different conversation at the moment. But one thing is for sure, the Springboks showed a lot of strength in some certain areas. Their depth, their set pieces, and the bomb squad. Those are the facets of the game that the Springboks lean on when they get into trouble. The set piece was probably the best that we've seen in the Rugby Championship. I mean, dominating the Argentinian scrum with 7 guys scrumming for the Springboks, and then also dominating when we had a full set, was phenomenal to see. And that is Springbok rugby. We put them under pressure at set piece time, we gain the territory, we put them under pressure, and we go and score either in the corner or up front. It's a massive weapon that the Springboks have with the scrum, and I think if Argentina had dealt with the Springbok scrum better, even if it was 20% better, I think the result probably could have gone their way, and they'll definitely look at that. And I think from an Argentinian point of view, if they can sort their scrum out, they will be a top 4 side come that 2027 Rugby World Cup, and they definitely will be one of those dark horses in the Rugby World Cup, because they've shown how dangerous they are on attack. They love keeping the ball alive. They're very dangerous, and I mean, the Springboks kind of showed us that. The Springboks were willing to take Peter the toy out of the scrum so that we could have a full backline to defend against the Argentinian backline. If that doesn't give you some confidence as an Argentinian fan, then I don't know what will. But also, the Springboks back their scrum, and that's also why they did it. So you look at the depth, the guys that came on and made massive impact. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Bongi was maybe not on for long enough to make a massive impact. You look at Grant Williams, you look at Mani Lebok, you look at all these guys that come on, fit in seamlessly to the system, and just carry on where the guy before them left off. The Springboks' strength, depth, set piece, and bomb squad will be a through and through for the next 2 years leading into that 2027 Rugby World Cup, and Rassie Erasmus and the coaching staff are just going to refine that. They're just going to tighten the nuts and bolts, and to be honest, the Springboks could be a very, very scary outfit come that 2027 Rugby World Cup, where we've got our set game plan. They still chopping and changing the game plan a little bit from Tony Ball to more Springbok DNA rugby, a mixture of both. And once we find that exact game plan that we want to use, combined with our strengths, our set piece, our depth, and our bomb squad, the Springboks are going to be a very difficult side to contain and to beat. Just adding on to the strengths of the Springboks, something that we haven't seen from Springbok teams in the past is how many points we scored in this Rugby Championship. We scored the most points with 179 over 6 games, and we scored the most tries with 23 across the campaign. Now, if you look at Springbok rugby historically, it's all about just winning the game. How can we kick as many penalties as possible? How can we put ourselves in the best positions to win a game, not necessarily absolutely blow opposition out of the water? For the first time, we've seen a game plan that the Springboks are executing, namely Wellington and Durban, where they're scoring maximum amount of tries, where they're putting the points 40, 50, 60 on the board. And if you're scoring that many points, there's not a team in the world that's going to be able to beat you and be able to score more points than you. So that is also now a massive bow and a massive string that we've added to our bow. When you speak about depth, set piece, and bomb squad, as well as scoring 6 to 9 tries in a game, that team becomes almost unbeatable. We've spoken about the strengths. What are the Springbok weaknesses coming off the back of that Argentinian game, and more so the Rugby Championship? It has to be our discipline, and our errors are still lurking. There were 13 turnovers lost, and multiple penalties early on gave Argentina a foothold in that game. Discipline remains a real concern in that Springbok side. Yellow cards are becoming a theme. Cheslin's error led to another soft try, and that was 2 weeks in a row now from Chesy, which is definitely not like him, but maybe shows we want to try be expansive, but we cannot have errors like that creep into our game, because if Argentina was slightly more switched on, if their scrum was operating a little bit better, then those errors are what loses you the game. Luckily, we managed to squeak it out at Twickenham, and luckily, Sasha Feinberg Ngumazulu scored 37 points in Durban. But Rassie Erasmus admitted himself that performance wasn't up to standard. He says, happy that we won, but definitely not satisfied with the performance. And I think that's the sentiment from Springbok supporters as well. We set ourselves such high standards, and we need to keep the players honest to those standards. And yes, we won the Rugby Championship, but we as Springbok fans, and the Springboks know it as well, we are so much better than what we put out in this Rugby Championship, maybe bar Wellington and Durban. So what's the bigger picture now coming off of this Rugby Championship? We have a massive November coming with Japan, Italy, France, Ireland, and Wales. France and Ireland are probably two of our most difficult games this year. Away from home against the French side that is very, very good. Yes, they lost 3 to New Zealand earlier on in the year, but that was their B or C side. You've got Ireland, who are scratching at the bit to get another go at the Springboks. And yes, we ranked world number 1, but we could easily fall down to 2 or 3 in the world if we end up losing those games. We're going to a very difficult and testing November series. We've got the Rugby World Cup draw on the 3rd of December, so it's all to play for. We've got New Zealand coming over doing a British and Irish Lions type tour next year. And then we enter 2027 and it's the Rugby World Cup. So a very successful Rugby Championship where a lot of questions were answered. Still a lot of work to do. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and leave this video a like. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.